workshop. BNV 2020, you know what it is, you know the vibes. So, we are living in a wild time, but the whole theme of this, the theme of BNV, Brave New Voices International Youth Poetry Festival this year, 2020, is breathe, which is, I think, that word in and of itself is enough to guide this whole workshop. So, of course, as always with You Speaks, the golden rules are there are no wrong answers, and the standard is yourself. And I have a little check-in question, which would be, oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Which would be, boom, here. What is your name? Your preferred gender pronouns? Um, what color hue are you right now? And where are you tuning in from? And so when everyone gets a chance to, check in there in whatever context that is, we would move on. And I would like to invite everybody to take 3 deep breaths, deep to your diaphragm. Slow inhale, maybe 1, 2, 3 seconds, holding it, maybe 1, 2, 3 seconds, and slowly exhaling for 3, 2, and 1. And again, and again. Word. And why is that? It actually ties into our next free write where we have a chance to kind of write it out, talk about it. And the free write is, do you ever find yourself holding your breath? Why is that? And ghost lines or sentence starters, ghost lines is a word that was coined by Jamila Woods, who actually happens to be featuring at MC Olympics on Friday. So be there or be square, homie. No, just kidding. But yeah, and so ghost lines can appear or disappear as you please. So you can start your poem here. You can use them throughout the poem or not use them at all. That's totally fine. And the ghost lines are: if I had to guess how often I hold my breath, I'd say 2. If my breath could talk, it would say. Or 3. My breath be shallow like. And the whole point of the free write is to try to go nonstop. In this case, it would be for 5 minutes, and you're not worried about grammar, spelling, punctuation, anything like that. It's totally so you have the chance to get free through your own writing, for yourself from your own judgments and everything, and just kind of freestyle on the topic about holding our breath and why we do that, and when we do that, and how we do that, or wherever you want to take it. Maybe it ends up being about something completely different, and that's cool too. At this point, I have the timer queued up, so I'm gonna go ahead and start the 5 minute timer starting now. All right, we're halfway through, 2.5 minutes left. Just about 30 more seconds, so now would be a good time to maybe bring that last line or that last concept to a close. And five, four, three, two, one. Boom. All right. Shout out to the free ride. Shout out to all the juices that were flowing, all of the concepts that were being put on the paper there. Now, moving on, you might see what's next is a brainstorm or what we call a word palette, because in painters they have a palette in which they use all different types of colors to mix together. We do that with our words, so that's how we come up with this. Um, so we're gonna get to it. Yeah, yes we are. Uh-oh, no, no, no! I hate when that happens. Jeez, I knew it was coming too. All right, so pretend like you didn't see that, and as we move on to the word palette. Now, this is a time to write down the first thing that comes to your mind in terms of this compiling all these different things. So, things that need to breathe. At this point, you would call out and write down anything that comes to mind. And yes, we have three different sections, so you can write three sections on your paper. So maybe you might say lungs, you might say diaphragm, you might say toes, you might say people in relationships. They need breathing space, right? They need to breathe. And you just keep going and going and going and going. So feel free to add more to that list. Also, shout out my homegirl Ray Rec, who has produced all of the beats that we have heard so far, or several of them. From Bay Area, you already know what it is. All right, maybe try to squeeze out two more if possible, and then we're gonna move on to the next section. Things that support breath. The first thing that came to mind for me was bees. You might say bees, you might say plants, right? You might say gardens, you might say relaxation, yoga class, pranayama, right? Anything that comes to mind for you, go off. Go ahead and just write it down. It may or may not make sense. If it's far out, if it's very specific, if it's very any of that, that's wonderful. The more unique, the better. If it's super simple, that's cool too. Try to get maybe 3 more. All right, moving on. Last but not least, enemies of breath. Anything that comes to mind, go ahead and write it down. You might say pollution, oil refineries. You might say the knees of crooked cops. You might say estrés. Anxiety. Few more there, if possible. Now we're gonna keep it pushing. So here we go. You know, if we're gonna talk about breathing, we're gonna talk about George Floyd for sure, and what happened with him. He's in Minneapolis, right? He was falsely accused of writing a fake check. He was detained, arrested in handcuffs, unarmed, right? And he was put in a chokehold by the knee of the officer who detained him until he passed away, right? Passed from asphyxiation. Lord, help me spell this word. No way. Oh, look at your girl. Jeez. After pleading, right, saying he can't breathe, right, I can't breathe, and calling out to his mother who had already passed on. So that's the most recent that we've heard about. Another one we maybe haven't heard about is Abdul. He passed away in 2017. Let me fix this spelling right quick. Oh, no. Okay. So, Phoenix. How do you spell Phoenix? So that says Phoenix, y'all. So police were called on him for trying to take his dog into a restroom at a community center. Apparently, the cops found, allegedly, right, that they had a warrant for his arrest. So they detained him with at least four officers on top of him, putting their knees on his neck and head. He throws up physically and says that he can't breathe before falling silent and passing away. So he didn't get the publicity behind not being able to breathe and being choked out. That's real. And also, of course, Eric Garner, whose spelling I will also fix. Um, yes, yes, ignore. All right. So, um, a cop, um, they claimed that they saw him selling cigarettes, although he was as far away as a football field just about is, which is 328 feet. So it's not humanly possible to really see that. The officer tried to justify it, making an outrageous false charge, pure lies, listed it as a felony, and said that he had 100,000 cigarettes, which was just all cap, pure lies. Um, there has been 5 years of deliberation as to whether or not Eric Gardner was actually choked to death. He said he couldn't breathe 11 times. He was forced into a chokehold that induced asthma, so they say, and cardiac arrest, and caused him to pass away. They tried to say it was because of his size, that he was quote unquote predisposed to morbidity. Um, and essentially, yeah, just capping about the fact that that was like murder, right? And questioning that. That's been in question in courts, and yeah. So right, um, so when we talk about breath, it's this precious thing that not all of us are afforded the right to, based on the the reality, right, of white supremacy, of anti-blackness, of this fear and this hatred around black folks, or maybe dehumanizing folks who are formerly enslaved, right? So breath is this precious, precious thing. So we go from thinking about holding our own breath, the people whose breath was stolen to them, to this next writing prompt. So write a poem to the enemy of breath. What do you have to say to folks who are anti-breath, anti-other folks breathing, or anti all of our breath? Maybe it's to pollution. Maybe it's to an officer. Maybe it's to something that you wrote in the word palette. Here are the ghost lines. What it must mean to be an enemy of breath. Misery walks on two legs. You know nothing of, or if only you knew. You can use these, any of these, all of these, or none of these, as you please. And we're gonna go ahead and try to rock for 7 minutes. So I'm gonna put that on the timer, and then we go ahead. Ready, set, go. Yeah, thanks for sharing the mental health. It always happens. No, no, no. Don't look, don't look, don't look. um, anyways, um, we, yeah, thank you for putting the mental health decompression room. Now is a great time to mention that, and a great time to mention that. That is available in the chat for sure. All right, let's keep it pushing. halfway through, lovelies. Yeah, 3.5 minutes just about to go. All right, and that is time. I hope that was a good writing session. All right, sweet. All right, cool. So we're gonna keep it pushing. Now would be a great time to do a share out, to read it back to yourself, read it to someone you trust, call someone on FaceTime who you trust with your work, or someone maybe that you live with, or that you're writing with at the moment, and do a share out. Now I would like to move on to a secondary text, and the reason we call this a secondary text is because your life is primary text, right? So you are number one. Your lived experience is number one. And then everything else, any other words, any other education, any books, any podcasts, any movies, those are secondary to you. Um, in school, oftentimes, I like to say this just as a reminder of how dope Youth Speaks is and how much we can really change culture in terms of how we as individuals and in community operate with intentions. So at school, the primary text is your textbook, right? Anybody you're supposed to learn from, any people in history that you're supposed to learn about, and rarely are we asked about our lived experience as what to learn from, if at all, right? So yeah, we're switching it up out here with the primary and secondary text. So this beautiful secondary text is by Ross Gay, and it's called A Small Needful Fact, and I'll go ahead and read it for us. A small needful fact is that Eric Gardner worked for some time for Parks and Rec, Horticultural Department, which means, perhaps, that with his very large hands, perhaps, in all likelihood, he put gently into the earth some plants which, most likely, some of them, in all likelihood, continue to grow, continue to do what such plants do, like house and feed small and necessary creatures, like being pleasant to touch and smell, like converting sunlight into food, like making it easier for us to breathe. Thank you, Ross. Shout out, Ross. That was some heat right there. So, with that, taking that in, maybe writing down anything that, any way that that hits you, um, I would like to move into the next writing prompts, which is tell me, how do you breathe? Write a poem to all that makes it possible for you to do so. Um, so some ghost lines you can say is here's to, I give thanks to the, or I breathe through. You can also maybe incorporate, it won't let me out, I swear. Okay. Um, some things from our previous word palette, just as a reminder. It should be on your paper. Not should be, it might be on your paper, and if it's not, that's totally okay. Here we are, we're here now. You might incorporate some things that support breath, right? Maybe on this, we might add Eric Gardner's hands. So, writing a poem about how you breathe, and write a poem to all that makes it possible for you to do so. So maybe you write about, right, I breathe through, I give thanks to the, or here's to, like an ode. Or maybe you just do your own thing. I'm going to give us another 7 minutes, because 7's a cool number. I like that. And we're going to just try to go in. All right, here we go. All right, about 30 more seconds. Five, eight. All right, sweet. Still like hopeful to hear any poems that are generated from this workshop, but also coming off the high still of the needful, a small needful fact poem by Ross Gay, and just like one thing that's really on my heart, like throughout those 7 minutes that were given to write, is that to be a poet in this world is such an essential role that we desperately need as humans. It not only help us cope with the harshest realities thinkable, some of the harshest realities thinkable, but or one can think of, but also not only helping cope, but also proactively helping us find beauty in places we didn't know that it lived. And essentially, although it might sound far out or corny or whatever, I'll say it anyways, is being able to literally write us into a more beautiful reality because we can conceive of it. The power of like poets like like anybody who rocks with you speaks like Raske is to it brings our minds to places where we had never had them before, and the absolute only way to bring something into being is to conceive of it, is to imagine it. So shout out to all the poets who are helping us imagine things that we had no access to without them. So now again is a great time to share out with your best friend, share out with your roommate, share out with your housemate. What or yeah, I just said that. But share out in general. Um, Share on maybe do a video and post it on the gram or something. Who knows, right? And moving on, a little bit more history, Black history. Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, the GOAT. She worked on a plantation at the sharecropper, very, very poor in the South, for almost 20 years. Her initial protest, I'll skip over, is registering to vote. That caused her to be fired from her quote unquote job, although it really kicked off, that plantation. And she ended up dedicating her life to the civil rights movement, evading death many times. She had been threatened, she had been shot at, she had been beaten, tortured, she had been tracked down, and had evaded death many times again. Like I said, yeah, she worked with student nonviolent Nonviolence Coordination Committee, SNCC. She also founded many movements, including the one I want to spotlight the most, which is Freedom Farm Cooperative. So, um, the co-op planted cash crops like soybeans and cotton to pay taxes and administrative expenses, but the rest of the land was sowed with vegetables like cucumbers, peas, squash, and collard greens, all of which was distributed back to those who worked on the co-op. Um, indeed, indeed. So, someone named Slangston Hughes is in the waiting room. I don't know what that's about, but anyways, um, yeah. What's up, Slangston? Welcome. Um, sweet. So we just reading about Fannie Lou Hamer right now, Miss Fannie Lou Hamer, um, and fed nearly 2,000 families with her Freedom Farm Cooperative. I definitely recommend doing more research about her, listening to her powerful voice, just keeping up with our history. So, writing prompt 3. Tell me about the relationship between freedom fighting and cultivation. So, some ghost lines are, excuse me, sorry about that. For every blank, there is a blank. So maybe this is when you go back to the word palette again. My bad, let's just go back just as a reminder. And you take something from here and say, for every oil refinery, there is a bee fertilizing um, a carrot flower. We were talking about bees and carrot flowers last night. So, right, for every knee of a crooked cob, there is a farmer's knees kneeling into the earth, to the dirt that he is tending to. Um, for every, um, you know, fist on a neck, there is fistfuls of compost, you know. Um, so that's one way to approach it if you want. But there are other ways to approach it. The other ghost lines are every activist tends to the earth, or with one fist in the air and one fist in soil. Boom. Forgot to put the word and, so we can do that there. Now, I'd say here we can go for 10 minutes, a little bit longer, and maybe even push it to 15, depending. Um, but let's start there. So, 10 minutes. Here we go. Starting now. Oh, also, little vocab. You might be like, what is cultivation? It is the art of like growing something. Cultivation has to do, I don't know verbatim the dictionary definition, but it has to do with tending to the earth, to crops, to plants. Um, yeah, that's cultivation. In my words. Since you, since I, and all, since you, I, since I, since you, since I, and all, since you, I, since I, All right. Excuse me. We have about 5 minutes left, but I'm gonna add a couple minutes because I think we can go for longer.
Hey! Stop the damn dancing! Act like you got some goddamn sense, people! Damn! No playing around here!
Just under 2 more minutes. Thirty more seconds. Beautiful. All right, welcome back. Welcome back. So, I hope that went well. I'm gonna get us out of here. I can. All right. Bet. Nice. So again, of course, a share out, however it works best, and then after share out, do a quick checkout question. Um, so I think the checkout question for me would be like, how would you approach breathing more, breathing deeper, and or supporting breath overall? Maybe whatever way that looks best for you. Maybe that looks like picking up a practice, yoga practice. Maybe it looks like some breathing meditation. Maybe it looks like picking up farming. Personally, I would like to become a plant mama, for sure, and also definitely remind myself to breathe on a daily basis. I think that I'll actually encourage the people around me to remind me to breathe and hold me accountable for that. So that's how I answered it. Um, yes, yes. Thank you so much for tuning into this workshop um, and being present for BNV related things. And may BNV continue and the legacy continue. And yeah, that's it for now. All right, deuces.